Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, and thank you, Paul, for attending with me today. It's appreciated.
Oh, this is fantastic. It's an amazing evening, actually, for me.
Well, good
Here,
evening.
yeah, I'm on the verge of Thanksgiving here in the U.S. I'm really excited. Tomorrow, I'm gonna uh, express my gratitude by eating a lot with my family. So that's gonna be great.
Sounds good, Paul. Wish I was there. And look, just today, I do want to kindly just say, look, I hope I'm not offensive with my Mo at the moment. I'm supporting Movember, which is a great cause for men's health, which I'm very passionate about supporting. So yeah, for the month of Movember, I've been walking around with some handlebars here, and just wanted to put that out there to make sure that everyone knows that this is what's going on. Not sure whether you celebrate that or whether you support Movember in the States, Paul.
I absolutely well, right now I'm spurting beard Vember, but it's coming off. I think the rest of the beard is going to come off to a nice mustache over the course of the next couple of days, and so I can sport that at the end here. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Paul. Look,
By the
and
way, I
today,
think I love it. I think it looks really good.
thanks very much, Paul. Appreciate it. Look, today I'm really quite excited about this webinar because at the moment, understanding the impact of sales coaching is critical for companies. And what we're finding at the moment is every day I'm having conversations, and it's the market's starting to get tougher over here. Things are tightening up, and companies are realizing now that post COVID, obviously there's a lot of people that were put into sales positions. Well, actually, if I go back a little bit, there was a lot of people that were struggling in sales before COVID. Obviously, that created a lot of new business, which then sort of moved more into consultative selling and order taking and trying to pacify people as to why you couldn't supply all their needs. But so what we've found is there's a lot of people in sales at the moment that are struggling. And there's also a lot of sales managers. So if you were good at selling and you're in the business at the time someone left, there's a highly likely chance, without disrespect, that you were moved into a sales management role because it looks attractive. You get a bit more money, you get a better title, you have some more opportunity to perform and coach a team. But in reality, a lot of us don't actually have or have never had any training or development into actually managing a team. So it's a completely different job than being a salesperson and running your own territory. So I think today this is really important to get dive a bit deeper into best practice of sales coaching and the benefits it can bring to the business, Paul.
I couldn't agree more. I think this is really really strong topic at this point in time. And it's shown to work if you do it right. So I think we're going to go through these three topics together: why sales coaching, a little bit on what sales coaching is not, and then we'll dive in and actually show some keys and questions to coaching that you can actually leverage within a technology. We have a technology for it, so you can leverage a technology like ours, but really just go through like the critical nature and the keys to coaching uh, a sales team and helping them improve and go through that on a pretty granular basis. So I'm pumped about it. I think we're going to bring a lot of impact here.
Yeah, look, Paul, just another one before we go on too. I mean, we do deal with a lot of small to medium enterprise as well, and what as you know from your experience, a lot of the times the business owner is actually the sales manager because if they don't if you get to sort of 5+, generally you sort of look to get a sales manager on board. But even some companies with under 10 salespeople, you've still got the business owner or the manager trying to, obviously manage and lead the sales team. And again, there's so many layers to that because they're also running day-to-day business and doing, accounting and finance and operations and all those sort of things. So if you're a business owner, or a manager, this is a really good one for you as well to understand that, there is a lot more required to support a sales team to perform at high levels.
Well, so let's jump into some of the stats around this, and I want to share some of this because what you just said is really really absolutely critical, right? And if you think of that small medium business, the sales, the owner has often been the very first successful salesperson, right? So they are the heart and soul and the heartbeat of that organization that can help them. But the challenge is with training. Training can teach people a lot of stuff, but teaching without reinforcement and ongoing reinforcement in terms of habits and coaching is doesn't stick. It really just doesn't help. So coaching really becomes that differentiator for the sales reps that can actually take the training that an owner gives or a director gives or a manager gives and actually put it into practice on an ongoing basis. And so many times we just don't do that. Sometimes we train them and we let them loose and say, here you go, have fun, good luck. And where it's shown
Seen it before.
it doesn't work, right? So we have a lot of stats here on what does work, right? So 16.7%. This is a effective sales coaching. This is by the Sales Management Association study that effective sales coaching can boost revenue by up to 16.7%. Oh my gosh, if that's a couple extra sessions a week, boosting revenue by 16.7%, that's a big deal. Rain Group, 25 to 40% boost. Companies with formal sales coaching strategy, 91% quota attainment. This is all reasons why coaching is a reason for investing in this. Companies with dynamic coaching programs achieve 28% higher win rate, according to Brainshark. And then Aberdeen Research did a study that real-time deal-specific sales coaching increased revenue 8.4%. This is 95% improvement over companies that don't provide the level of coaching. So there's a bunch of studies, and these are just 4. Actually, as Jason and I were preparing, everything was a little bit too small on this slide, and I hit delete on a bunch of the other stats we had in there. These are just some stats by neutral organizations that are telling us the absolute importance of sales coaching.
Oh, Paul, and I think if you went to most CEOs or business leaders these days, and you said, would you like to increase your sales by 20%? By making some changes within your business and how effective you are in supporting your team. I mean, I'd find it unusual if they didn't say yes. And I think the other big area for me is if you impact and you can implement better coaching and with effective sales processes as well. I mean, you're sort of nudging up towards potential sort of 30 to 50% growth there if you can combine those two together.
Yeah, we're seeing massive growth across our customers that do both of these things. And I want to give another really objective view of this as well. And this is actually Objective Management Group. We're users of Objective Management Group. Jason, I know you're a partner of Objective Management Group. They have over 3 million assessments of salespeople in market, and they've been able to take that data and absolutely dissect it in a number of ways. Here is the numbers of people that are actually doing coaching and how often they're coaching. So managers are coaching in an on-demand effort. And when on-demand is like, hey, I'm going to raise my hand, and I raise my hand a couple times a month, maybe, or maybe once every 3 months or once every 6 months, or maybe I never raise my hand to be coached. That's 38% of the time. Sometimes weekly is at 20%, biweekly 8%. Some people never coach the people 8%. And so these numbers are showing, and then they measured actually how often, like what are the good reps doing, the good teams doing, how often they should be coached. It comes out to the biggest improvements are 17% improvement in sales percentile. So the top reps are getting coached daily or several times per week. And so, even if you go to weekly, there's a 9% uptick in the daily sales percentile, or in the sales percentile. And this is their performance of reps against other reps and their ability to execute. So, Jason, I mean, does this jibe with your experience?
Oh, look, Paul, I mean, I managed a national sales team for a long time. And yeah, I mean, it's, the bigger the team gets and the further away, the more difficult it is. I mean, it's obviously much easier now with technology and being able to do that. But look, again, I think, in a lot of situations now, we're getting approached by companies where, a lot of leaders are sharing multiple roles. You know what I mean? So they're doing sales, or they're doing a regional job. They're also doing another job that's linked to some other part of the business. So in appreciation for what sales managers do, a lot of them, from my opinion, are stretched across too many areas. So if you're going to stretch someone, you're not going to get the effective time, and not only the effective time, but it's actually the ability for the sales manager to be present and to be in the moment and to listen to what their people are saying and actually give them and let them, give them the answers and then talk them through how that could, potentially help them. And again, guilty as charged. I remember, running around and coming into a meeting with one of my sales guys and just, being under the pump and having, 10 different things going on in your mind. And again, I've learned a lot over the years. And I think, Paul, if you wouldn't mind just going back to that last slide, please. Because I think that's a really, like, objective management group for me is like, it's the front end of our business. I mean, it provides us with all the data and statistics to really uncover where companies are at, where sales management leadership's at, where salespeople are at. It's one of the most powerful tools. I love it, apart from Membrane as well, of course. But I mean, the data that we can get from here with the coaching, I think it's critical for businesses to understand that you give your sales management and leadership more time. Don't overload them with specific areas not related to their job they're actually hired for. And I think the same as with salespeople, really give them a clear path and remove all the clutter and the distractions to actually get better coaching time and better influence in what they're doing. And exactly what you're seeing here now with these statistics is so accurate. I mean, I think for me, the start, and again, if you're a business owner and you're trying to do all this as well, and I think that's the benefit we've got moving forward is obviously to have the technology and the automation to be able to, for people to be able to do this much more effectively than traditional ways of doing it, which just don't work anymore.
Right. Well, let me show you another slide here that I think is really, really cool, where coaching really makes that impact, right? So, as part of it is we do need to have a focus on it, right? I would rather, and personally, what I've found, in the past 6 months, I've actually restructured my whole week and all of my time to have focused days for coaching of different parts of the organization instead of doing, but coaching. Because I need, there's only a couple of ways that you can really, for any business owner, any leader, any sales leader, there's only a couple ways that you can make yourself expand your abilities, and I'm blanking on the word, but I think you know what I'm trying. Multiply yourself, right? And the way you multiply yourself is by giving time to others on the right things in the right places at the right time. And so this coaching day, like being able to do that, has been really helpful. And I actually have seen massive increases in my team as well as everybody I'm working with around these areas: increase in responsibility, increase in motivation, and a bigger increase in sales process improvements. Because one of the things we talked about at length, Jason, is the, why get this technology if nobody's going to use it, right? Why put a process in place if nobody is going to actually adhere to that process? And that's a big challenge today. And it's an absolutely big challenge. It's a very real one when looking at technology. And I think you need to be able to, well, and I'm going to ask you about that, actually. Do you mind filling in the blanks on that?
Oh, absolutely, Paul. I have these discussions every day. And I mean, again, it's personally, I think the change of where we're heading in the future with what needs to happen in sales and sales leadership management is causing a lot of issues with technology as well. I mean, we've still got a lot of people on sales teams that have been there for a long time that really struggle with technology. And I think the other area is that, accountability or responsibility. You're dead right. I mean, I think if salespeople have been, and I mean, I've been on the road. I was on the road for 8.5 years. And I managed sales teams for over sort of probably near 15 years. But so, I mean, I understand what goes on and there is a lot to do. But again, I think by removing all the non-productive activities that don't support business development and growth, you'd be surprised how much time people have got. So if someone sat there and said, I don't have time, I actually don't agree. You know what I mean? I think you can make time if you really focus on it. So And I think what we're finding at the moment is that there's a lot of pushback from salespeople and even leadership in some cases, because they're concerned whether their salespeople have time to use the technology to help them sell better, and or leadership is concerned that, if we push them to do it and enforce it, are we going to lose people as well? So, I mean, you Membrane's, a global company. So what, from your opinion, what's best practice in that situation? So if I said to you, look, I'm concerned my salespeople are going to push back and they're not going to use it, or they won't want to use it, what would be, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm looking at these benefits, and I see these benefits every day in terms of, and I'm going to go backwards towards the technology, right? I see the benefits every day in terms of coaching. If and only if I know what to coach on, and how to coach and how to be, and we're going to go through that, and the ability to hold people accountable together, right? I tie that to the reason salespeople don't want to use technology, at least in my opinion, that I've found over the years, and I've managed hundreds and hundreds of salespeople over the years. I've implemented CRMs and technologies for nigh on 20 years now. And so what I've found is when we position the technology as it is important for management, for people to use technology, the technology will fail. Right. So if I give somebody a CRM and I say, you got to put in this data, and the reason you got to put on this data is so I can have an accurate forecast. And by the way, a side effect of that is going to be, you're going to have an accurate forecast, right? You're going to I promise you, if you fill out these fields, you're going to make more money. Every salesperson in the world looks at you and is like, that's BS, right? So the critical nature is we need to tie in a sales process, a technology that actually helps people follow that sales process, as well as makes it easy and exciting, and they're able to do it easily from a phone, from anywhere. It allows them to do it. And then you actually tie in your coaching mechanism to that, right? So if you're in that system every single day, so one of the things that I get is, well, leaders I don't want to be in a system. Well, then if a leader doesn't want to be in a system, quite honestly, don't set up a system for the organization, because you're not going to gather the adoption. You're not going to actually have people that want to use it, because their leader does not model that behavior. Now, if a leader finds it effective and helpful for coaching their people on a day-to-day basis and helping their people succeed, that changes the world. It changes culture, it changes impact, and it changes revenue. So I guess that's how I look at it, is we need to give the leader something that's valuable to them and help them coach people. We also need to give the salesperson something that's really valuable and actually helps them sell, right? Follow process helps them sell. And only then will we get some adoption. But you got to go into it with that mindset. Otherwise, you're just entering data, and that sucks.
Oh, look, you hit the nail on the head, Paul. And I think the big one for us is that, if leadership, and it's the same as our coaching and training, if leadership doesn't support the process and the program, we've got nothing. You know what I mean? And I think that's the big part. And I can understand, why some salespeople and leaders are concerned. But I think, again, it comes back to what you said. You want to be able to say, okay, so if you're here right now and your sales are down 20 or 30%, and it's a tough grind out there, and the prices are heading south, this is an opportunity to go, let's try something different here. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like putting in a new ERP system, which most people, it's a huge process. It's not that hard. And again, what it does, it actually implements that change and that energy and opportunity into the business. You'll soon see who are the ones that will support this and the ones that won't. And without disrespect, some of the ones that won't support it are generally at the lower end of the sales force as well, unless they've got the good customers. So, I mean, there's a lot of areas in here that I feel, and I'm the same. Everything I do at the moment, and we've been working on some things together, is trying to give salespeople a more effective tool to use than just using generic data entry. So again, things like when they're putting their call notes in, it takes a long time. Okay, we've now got on the phone automated voice to text, problem solved. You know what I mean? We've got reoccurring appointments, and we're working on getting the coaching platform where they can load in their calls for a month in advance without having to do it separately. Problem fixed. You know what I mean? So again, I think and we're missing, and the biggest part that we're actually sort of not talking about right now is the massive improvement you can get from implementing a sales process that's effective with milestones into a system that the salespeople can follow through on new opportunities. And that's the thing. I think if you just look at the existing sales of, you put an offer out there and you throw it at someone and you hope it's going to come off, without disrespect, unless you're cheap, those days are gone. If you want to sell on value and you want to do something different, you need to get an effective sales process into your business that people can follow and learn when they use it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on to this one, but one thing I will say there, and I'm gonna go backwards a couple, and these are very real numbers, right? They're not all additive numbers, but they're very, very real numbers. So if you look at, this is an increase in effectiveness. So we're putting in coaching. I'll give you, and this is an increase in, responsibility, motivation, sales process improvements. That's just through coaching. If you add a system, with a systematic process that allows you to coach based on that systematic process, on average, there's a 15 to 19. This is studied, right? This is not me from Membrane telling you. This is studied. Several organizations have done this. 15 to 19% increase in revenue on average from companies that don't have a sales process. Now, that takes some doing, right? And now is the time. If you haven't invested in it already, now is the time to start investing in that, because that revenue and that ability to sell consistently is the only way. You're not going to innovate. You generally don't innovate yourself out of a downturn. You have to consistently sell, and do it really, really well. And then the spikes, innovation helps you with spikes, but you're not going to be able to turn around like a 40% dip simply through, I'm going to go into the next market, or I'm going to do this. That's a lie, right? It doesn't happen that way generally for most companies. Most companies are the ones that perform the most consistently during downturns, are the ones that effectively have the processes, the people, and the training in place to stay consistent and stay above the line so your people can continue to execute. So a little bit of a rant there. I'm sorry, but
no, look, I mean, I think
that is where it goes. Yeah.
It's pretty obvious this session's going to be a bit longer. And I mean, I'm happy. It's such an important topic of what we're talking about here. And again, from my own experience, I think, the best time to grow your business is when the market's slower, and then you really power on when it gets moving again. So this is great content, Paul. Thank you.
Well, and let me share a couple of things, because this is some of the stuff that I want to make sure that I'm going to go back to just the coaching part of that process. What coaching isn't. So when they study coaching and they always say what it is and how it helps, this is what it's not. It is not management. It's separate from management. It's separate from looking at every single number and saying, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, and you do this, right? Coaching is a mutually accountable session. It's understanding what is needed to be done, how it needs to be done, where we need to mutually create impact, and it focuses on skills, and it really, really helps with that. It is not teaching and telling. Teaching and telling and training is needed, right? But it's not coaching. You can't come to somebody and give them a one pager, say, here you go, this is how you get it done, and just expect them to go do it. There's very few people that operate that way, right? And it's not performing. So it's not taking the best sales performer and just saying, hey, you go and you're the sales coach. Now you just go perform for everybody. So now I've given you 6 people that you have to perform for. That's not it. It's about helping everybody improve their own skills and their best practices to be able to operate effectively. Now, there are keys, Jason, that we're going to go through to coaching. And the very first key that I'm going to show you, and we're going to dive into these keys as a function of a demo of a system, and I want to have it be a conversation together. But the very first key is not going to be a part of the demo, but it is understanding the person that you are coaching, right? So there is a critical need right here. absolutely critical need for us to have better understanding. It's why I respect your practice so much, is you go in and you truly understand people. You truly understand the sales reps. You truly understand what's going on. You focus on testing. Sales managers need that understanding more than just a gut feel of their people, right? And the gaps in what they can and can't do is absolutely critical to being able to coach them on their strengths, to increase their strengths and minimize their weaknesses. So you're never going to be able to do that unless you actually objectively can figure out what those are and figure out the gap between what you think those are and what your coachee thinks those are. Because if you're trying to coach somebody that doesn't think they have a problem, they're not going to listen, right? So being able to take this and highlight the skills, what they're good at, what they're not good at, what are the challenges, where are they missing those challenges? And I know you use an assessment assessment to do this, right?
Yeah, we do, Paul. Very proud partner of Objective Management Group. And look, I mean, it's one of the greatest tools to help leaders understand not only sales leadership, sales management, but also individual sales professionals on where they are, where they're good, and where there's opportunity for improvement. And I think really until you do that, and it's a bit like being a doctor, really. It's like if you go to the doctor and you got a sore arm and then he starts trying to fix your foot, well, it's not going to help, is it? I mean, and for us, it's about really understanding exactly where each team and business needs the relevant help to really be able to then support them on that. And I suppose if you get back to your coaching part, one of the from the assessment, one of the key areas we focus on, particularly when we're helping recruit as well, is the person coachable? Because I mean, if they've got a score of 50 or under, you're going to really struggle to move that person. And unfortunately, if you're the business owner or leader and you're trying to grow the sales, and then you've got a team that doesn't want to listen or thinks they know everything, well, then you're going to really struggle. So again, finding that out is critical. And I think the big thing for me is being able to develop an actionable plan for each person instead of trying to go one size fits all for training and coaching. I mean, you might look at it and you might go, hey, we're going to spend $2,000 on a course and we're going to get everyone selling value better. Okay, that's all right. But what about all the other areas they need help with? And then the guy that does really well in selling value has to sit there and listen to it while all the people that don't do well in it really don't then take it away and absorb what they've learned. So we're sort of going around in circles, really.
Well, so you said it, right? So the first, you understand the strengths and challenges of your team. And if they're coachable, I'm going to show this. It's going to be small for a second. Again, I'm going to show this really quick. I'm going to hit slideshow again so you see it a little bit bigger. But that coachability is really excellent in a spider graph like this, because it starts to show you if somebody is actually coachable. So if my assessment is much different than the reps assessment of what they do, so if we look at this challenge right here, and I'm in blue and they're in red, and there's a massive, if they think they're really, really good at it, and I think they're really, really bad, the most effective, the most often thing that's going to be the case is because they are not coachable, right? The gap is too big. They're not going to be coachable on that, and that is going to be a problem. The critical thing that we got to talk about. So we're understanding the strengths and talent, and then overall understanding who to coach, right? So that isn't a massive thing in this and we have a technology for it. But if I'm going to give you just the basis of some of the things that you need to be able to do, number one, individual strengths and skills. Number two, on an ongoing basis, you need to understand, have an objective measure and understand who needs coaching, right? And who is performing that coaching and when it's going to happen. So if you look at a view here, this is our easy way of doing it. We have a performance score, and we can track that over time. We can see when coaching activities are happening and then what overall coaching topics are happening within that. But I can also understand who needs coaching, who is really having issues according to their goals and their activities in a system that follow a process, right? And who's doing great. And this doesn't mean that I'm not going to have my one-on-ones with individuals if they're doing great, right? So I look at Daniel Day-Lewis. He's knocking it out of the park. He's got an 82 score, and this is just an average score of all of their goals. Doesn't mean I'm not going to be coaching them. It just needs the intensity might be a little different. But if I look down at Alicia, man, she's had no coaching focus for a while. She's really hurting. She's doing a lot of activity. right? But she's just not effective. So maybe we need to dive in and do some work with her.
Yeah, look, just to go back there, Paul, just sorry,
Yeah.
before you flick on, I think the importance here of being able to look at this data, and again, it's incredible, and this is obviously part of the new release of the coaching cockpit that's coming out that Paul probably hasn't sort of officially announced, but I think I'm really excited about this part because it gives the leader the ability to be able to visualize this so clearly. And again, as you know, I mean, I think from a salesperson's point of view, it's about doing the activities to start with, which is important for them to, be utilizing the tool and putting all the, phone calls and emails and notes and tasks and calendars in there, because doing the right activities, but not only doing the right activities, but doing it with the right types of prospects and clients is very important as well. So it's understanding that. And then again, then the effectiveness of how you're doing that. So I think the effectiveness part, activities are great, but as you can see from Alicia, she's been underperforming for some time. You can see that she's doing the activities, but it's potentially not in the right areas and it's not that effective. So, I mean, having the ability to be able to look at this, from in the one area, particularly from a sales management, because, we've got a lot of clients that have, potentially sort of 2 to 5 sales managers as well. So being able to just drill into this area is a very powerful tool.
Yeah. And I can tell you, I use it personally with my team, and I've been using it with some tests or with some clients that are working to test it out, and the ability to have one single pane of glass that you can really see, and I'll dive down, but really see the effectiveness of coaching and how that's operating and the ongoing basis is really, really helpful. And then once you start to dive in, it gets even more helpful. Meaning, I think, and I'm going to go back to one thing about Al Pacino here. So Al's going to be my guy that we talk about. Al has been overall performing pretty well. He's got a 78. He's been, if I look at what that means, is it means his activities are decent. He's actually hitting really well in his win rate. So he's finding the right size deals and he's winning them, right? He just doesn't have enough of them. And so the ability to see that in one simple place based on the goals that you set within the system is really, really strong. And then when we talk about this being helpful for Al, right? I want to be able to look at this, and Al should be able to understand, Al should be able to understand right from his pipe, like this, the data that he's putting in here should actually help him, right? So give him a process that he can actually go click, 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 click. Oh yes, this helps me. Oh man, if I'm at this, I looks like I'm going to present, and here's a good way to do my presentation. Did I remember to send them the collateral? Did I remember to do the proof of concept with them? Oh, here's the proposal and quote. It's right in here. I'm able to just hit the button and send it. So Al actually starts to leverage the system and use it because it's helpful to him. And then I can see the results of that within the system and be able to coach on it and coach in good ways. Oh man, Al, you are knocking it out of the park in a win rate. Hopefully you could. Why don't we learn that and understand how you're doing that? Because I want to be able to teach that with the rest of the team, but also keep doing that. All right, we got to get more sales projects created. That's a really big deal, right?
Yeah. One of the things, and I appreciate you showing me this here, Paul, but one of the big areas for me is that, I mean, I've used a lot of different CRMs, but for me, Membrane it's actually fun to use. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to use and it's fun to use. So, I mean, for people that are watching this webinar, I mean, it's not hard to go in and set up the goals and all the activities and not only, again, the leading activities. So what we're talking about here is, not getting to the end of the month and going, hey, you only did this and that. It's about, no, this is leading activities. This month, we want you to make, 30 phone calls, and we want you to do, 5 prospecting calls, and we want you to bring some new opportunities for some new products into the pipeline and qualify them again. So leading activities is a game changer, again, from a sales management point of view, and being able to see early on, hey, look, you're not performing, and what's going on? How can I help you? Where do you need assistance? Instead of getting to that end of the month, and all of a sudden, the horse has bolted again. So I think the ease of using Membrane, but also the ability from a manager to be able to look at this is a great way to be able to understand each individual salesperson's challenges and opportunities a lot more.
Yeah. And so if I'm going down the list, right, if I'm going down the list of creating, and this is regardless of Membrane, right? We need to understand the strengths and weaknesses. We need to see who to coach on those strengths and weaknesses. We need to be able to set goals. That is this third area, right? We absolutely have to be able to set goals. And then we need to understand and actually coach towards those goals with accountability. And so that is one place that gets missed all the time, right? So, I got all these goals and they're right in front of me, but I noticed you have a sales project. I noticed you're missing on sales projects created, right? How am I going to help you with that? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to come together and we're going to create a new activity focused on that topic, right? We're going to focus it directly on, and I won't scroll down to get it right now, but let's say right here, I'm going to do positioning and value proposition. I'm going to be able to put my coaching notes in here, right? So, and I'm going to have my own coaching notes that I can coach you on. This side over here can actually be all the content that is you want to train on. We're going to say what we have to do together. We're even going to add it to the specific opportunities that we're going to test it on. And then we're going to create ourselves some mutually accountable tasks. So this is it. We do not learn based on, and it's proven, like we don't learn based on one time show up and throw up tight stuff. That's what we can't do it in sales, and we don't learn it in, that's not how we learn either. We need to make ourselves mutually accountable to different tasks, give them deadlines, and understand when and how we're going to do them. Right. And when we start doing that, it changes, and tracking them, it changes our complete cadence of how we work together, especially when we're doing it in context. So mutually accountable is the fourth, and in context is the fifth. Our coaching needs to be in context. We need to understand the goals that we've set. We need to understand the full pipeline, the activities, and all that directly in context. And there's no really good way necessarily, except a coaching cockpit like this, to understand all of those things that are happening in context that we're looking at. That makes sense?
Yeah, Paul, just a quick one there. Would you mind just clicking in one of the opportunities there as well in the sales projects? Because I think it's really good for anyone who's obviously watching here, and we've got a lot of people that are watching the recording because it's a busy time of the year. But this is the game changer, with the opportunity to build a sales process for your team that they like to use, that makes them more effective. It shows them what to do when they get stuck, or what's the next step, what needs to be done before they try and rush to present and put a price in. So, I mean, we spend a lot of time in the sales process really getting this right. And sometimes, most times we've got multiple processes as well. And again, the ability to be able to incorporate video into the training program as well, because one of the big major challenges that sales leaders have is onboarding effectively. So not only is it hard enough to find a good salesperson, but then in a lot of cases, a lot of companies are putting on the new salesperson hoping they're going to fix all their problems. And it's not going to happen, not unless you get a unicorn, and they're hard to find. So, I mean, and in reality, you really need to invest in getting your sales systems and processes right and effective to actually, so your team, so when you're not around, things still move on. You know what I mean? Like the show still goes on. If you're on holidays, the team's working through the processes, like Paul's working on a scorecard here, and having the ability to be able to make sure that, if you're going to put a proposal forward. And I had a guy the other day reach out to me. He said, Jace, we're doing all this quoting and all this, our team's bringing in all these opportunities, but we're winning 25%. You know what I mean? And so effectively, again, qualifying very early on and alerting the sales leader that, hey, someone's actually, we can put a step in here that will actually send an alert to the sales leader if someone's put in an opportunity that shouldn't be in the pipeline. And I think that, again, using automation, and giving the team the effective tools is a huge change than because most generic systems, unfortunately, will let someone move an opportunity from one stage to the next without completing any milestones.
Yep. And I think it becomes the function of being able to deliver solid coaching, right? To be able to actually see, oh, well, we didn't hold on this one a good initial meeting, or we didn't send an email. Or let's take a look at the email we sent. This one is a particular sales system that has these different steps and stages and steps, but it becomes really the core that you're able to coach to and able to dive in with your reps. So you're able to say, okay, man, you're doing fantastic on winning these projects, great win rate. Let's dive into some of the projects and see what. But you're not doing a good job moving your prospects from point A to point B. Well, it's probably because you're only prospecting one person. It's time to get on the prospecting, right? Because you're missing those goals right here. You're not creating a lot of sales projects in your first meeting. So let's see why. Oh, great. This one's just in terms of number. But if it wasn't in terms of number, you could dive down and see exactly how people are executing, where they're executing, and how they're executing their cadences. So it's a really important ability to look at everything. And it's a great point, Jason. You need to coach well. You need to have a basis of coaching, and that basis of coaching should be your best practices, right? Those best practices
absolutely.
should be codified. They should be codified in a sales methodology that exists within a system.
Yeah, Paul, and I think, again, reflecting back to the $2,000 course that you put your team on to learn one particular area, I mean, you walk out of there and you might get 10% compliance. I mean, the beauty of using a tool like this when you're coaching and managing a sales team is, again, as you said, everybody learns differently. So some people need that repetition and that guideline of how to move sales through the process much more effectively than again, the old traditional, as I said, throw a cheap price out there and hope like hell that someone buys it. So, Paul, just another quick one, and you're probably I'm just keeping an eye on the time, but just on the story stream as well, are you able to just click on that just to show, the leaders and sales managers? We've got a few on coming on to watch the recording here as well, that, everything that's happening within here for your team or each individual salesperson, you'll be able to see exactly, where they're at for the week or day or month. And again, if I was talking to my team, I would always pull up, if I'm talking to one guy and I'm like, hey, how you going today? Oh, good. I've seen you been here. I've seen you been there. How's it going? Oh, yeah, that's some really good data, good market and, information for us. And I think those areas is really important for that visibility because, as you know, I mean, if you don't have any technology at all, well, all the information's probably either in someone's head that could walk out the door and take it all with them, or potentially, you're not finding out about the really important opportunities that they're possibly not capturing, and to being you're not able to coach because you can't see it. So again, I think if you revert back to the importance of getting the data in here, but again, removing the obstacle. Okay, you don't like writing it in, you can talk, use voice to text, problem solved, takes you a minute, done. And then the other area I think that I love as well is some of the specific call notes as well, the templates that we can set where it's actually, so when your salesperson does a call, well, okay, they're going to select this call type, which is then going to ask them to look at what's the objective of the call and what's the outcome of the call. And again, if you've got, Paul will show you here quickly, and this is great because again, I have like an update on a proposal or a pipeline update where I've got what's happening. It's either it's going to happen in, now or, in 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. And again, this makes it very good to automate and also create follow-up tasks within the one platform. And again, I think from any coach that would not see this as a valuable asset to their business, I'd really question why. I can't see why this wouldn't add so much value to your business. And again, being able to access that from anywhere that you are.
Yep. And I am going to, so with an eye on time, I'm going to wrap us up today, but I'm super thankful and grateful for all of you that attended today and everybody that's watching on the video. I am going to offer Jason, I'm not sure that showed you this, but I'm going to offer everybody a free assessment. And so this is a personal sales coaching assessment that you're willing to take, that you're able to take. This is actually focused on your own personal skills. So if you take this assessment and go through it, you'll be provided with a personalized recommendation of some resources to look at and all that. It'll also ensure that Jason is able to, if you go to this, you will fill out your email, and that'll ensure that Jason is able to get in touch with you relative to that